I am so grateful I took Dennis up on his offer to get me a new stove at Grant's because I am so tired of fiddling with this thing. Cooking dinner last night took forever and I had to keep undoing and reseating the stove to try and get it to burn a little better. So I have not seen any sign of another hiker since before Cuba, the guy with the orange that he passed me a few mornings and I passed him. Never saw him again. Interestingly enough, I was just checking the comments as I was editing yesterday's videos, and it looks like there is somebody in the general area as me. Somebody left a comment on that water cache right around middle of the day, which we were probably separated by an hour or two. I'm not sure if he's ahead or behind. It's possible he took the Taylor alternate. If you're trying to figure out what that is in the background, that's the trough. Basically, after I filled up last night, I came off into the woods, or I started to head downhill back towards the CDT, and I just looked for any place that was dirt. You can kind of see the ground around here. It's just filled with these volcanic rocks. So all I have to do is find a patch of dirt just about wide enough for my sleeping pad, and I set up on that. Again, this is why I like the Nemo, which is semi-freestanding, because I can set up the tent and then I can drop it right where I want it. The trekking pole tents that I have, they're a little harder to position. You can still do it, but they tend to shift around a little as you're setting them up. So invariably, that one rock you were trying to avoid ends up like right under your hip or something. Which, if you have an air mattress, who cares? Because, you know, air mattresses, you don't feel anything through. But I've got this little thin foam mattress because it's the only thing I won't pop within a week. Entertainingly enough, after all the stress about water on that 24-mile carry, it was so cold. I actually got here with 2 liters left. I was thirsty, but I had 2 liters left. Jen makes fun of me because I'll be thirsty, but I don't want to drink because I want to make sure I have water in case. I would rather, have that buffer available. I can put up with, little thirst in that case. I decided to celebrate having more water this morning by having a 3rd cup of coffee, and now it's about time to get going. I'm just making the long john, no long john debate currently. It is about 15 miles into town, which is far better than I thought I would be. Yesterday went pretty good as far as the feet. I was aware of the spots on my arches, but for whatever reason, I was able to not have those get any worse. I really wish I could figure out why that was happening. Bigger problem was actually just skin getting kind of abraded underneath my shirt between the pack, which I suspect is sweat and not being able to wash. When I take a little of my drinking water and spread it over the shirt, that seems to help a little. But that's okay. Hopefully Jen has booked me a hotel for tonight. Plan is to go in, do laundry. I have a box. I have a new stove waiting for me. I'm going to run to Walmart, get a few more bandages for my feet, maybe get some more socks. The pair that I showed a couple of days that was just dirt caked, they are very close to wearing through. So if I wear those out of here, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get another replacement. Jen sent new shoes and new socks to Pytown, which is quite a ways down. And it's funny, there are times when I have been able to use socks that have massive holes in them and my feet are fine. And then there's other times where, like a couple of days ago, where my feet are just shredding for no discernible reason, and new socks seem to help. So my plan is to run into Walmart, get a couple of pairs of some sort of socks, and at least have that in my toolkit here. This is why I kind of roll my eyes at the cutesy, YouTube. Hey, look at my teeny tiny pack that I'm using. A lot of those folks, I think, are just doing it for the views and whatnot. And B, when you get out here and you run into trouble, you know what happens when you run into trouble? You tend to have to add more things. When I started the PCT, I actually did some warm-up trips, and I had my pack narrowed down a ton. I was down to about, 19 pounds with my tent, my stove, and everything, and I had nothing extra. And then as things went wrong, I added like a sleeping shirt, I added this, I added that. When COVID started making my feet cold, I added, down pants, down socks. These days, when people ask about my pack weight, I say I'm usually in the 20s somewhere. Low to upper 20s is kind of the range. And when people are asking, like, what gear would I bring, I honestly tell them, as long as you can carry your pack comfortably, as long as you can carry it all day, of course, you're going to have to, like, rest, and it's going to feel good to take the pack off. But you shouldn't be walking every step going, oh, this is miserable. That's fine. You know, when I was doing weekend stuff, I basically would aim for 35 pounds or 32 pounds, because 32 pounds I could carry all day in the Sierra, up passes, down passes, didn't matter, you know. So why lighten up beyond that? I mean, it's nice, but if I'm having to throw a whole bunch of money at something and the gear's not going to last, that wasn't worth it to me. Of course, why would you take advice from me? Okay-ish through hiker. Didn't feel cold till I got out of the tent. You can see how narrow my sleep pad was. I was basically right in here, and there are rocks all over the place. There were a couple I was able to pull out, but in general, this sort of area can be a bit challenging. I also didn't realize I was this close to the two tanks. You can see the reservoirs there and that stock tank's there. I thought I'd come further in the night, but I was zigzagging along. So a lot of people like to camp near water sources. I don't, because it attracts other people. Also out here where it's kind of like water oasis, there's actually notes, please do not camp near the water source, since it can disrupt wildlife and stock from coming up and getting a drink. So if I'd realized I was that close, I would have kept going. Didn't feel too cold till I got out of the tent. Now I think I'm happy I still have my long johns on. So I just backtracked to the spigot in the name of science, and sure enough, still no water. The previous far out comment had guessed that it had frozen, but I think that tank is just empty. The tank might be spring fed, it might be one of those that they fill with the truck, but either way. I did leave a far out comment letting people know that if they trace the black hose up the hill, they will be able to find a trough at least. 15 miles into town, last 5 is a road walk. Unfortunately, I keep forgetting that I have to hit the post office to get my package. I am constantly going back and forth as far as preferences regarding having food resupplies sent to me, general delivery, or to like a hostel or something, or just buying as I go. In general, buying as I go lets me be a lot more flexible as far as my tastes any given time. For example, the box that I'm gonna get has a lot of Cliff Bars, and I finally leaned a little too heavily on the Cool Mint Cliff Bars, where I would prefer not to have them. When I did the ECT, it was almost all buy as I went. But the thing that gets me now is really just dinners. I would far prefer my rice and beans. They are heartier, they are more appealing. They are not the north sides, which is what I end up stuck with quite often. Now at that last town, I was actually able to find beans, and I was able to make that bean minute rice and taco seasoning mix myself, but that's rare. It is seeming like they are getting a little better coverage, and anytime I'm talking to an owner at a trailside store and they're like, oh, is there anything else you'd recommend I carry? I generally will put in for, Santa Fe beans or, other instant beans. In addition to getting dinners I like, usually the resupplies are a little more compact. If it's something that, Jen has sent to me, or at my parents', this Grant box, I actually packed it out of things I had when I saw them after the Mississippi. That box has been sitting there for quite a while. Because at least for me, a lot more than weight, it usually comes down to volume. If the food is overflowing too much out of the food bag, hell, even if it just fills that food bag I have, that can make jamming everything into my bag a little tight when I've got my winter gear like this. I don't get too scientific on it. There was this one guy that was doing in-depth ingredients showing how much like fat and everything was in each snack. I can't get stuff reliably enough to bother with that. But, peanut butter and cheese are very, very dense calories. So when in doubt, I will go bigger on that extra sharp cheddar, especially if I can get Tillamook. Peanut butter is pretty much the only breakfast item I've found that I can get reliably and where I don't feel hungry. It's not long after hiking. And I like eating, drinking my coffee, doing everything in camp, even my bathroom breaks, stuff like that, And then once I get going, I want to keep going. So I'm always looking for things where I don't have to eat for several hours. And when I've done oatmeal, even the kind of denser ones that Jen will get, the pea protein, I tend to have an issue with getting hungry too quickly. For a while, I actually was making a mix of almond flour and flax and then coconut sugar. And that actually worked fairly well, but it was kind of slimy. And that got hard to get down, so I started calling that breakfast snot and leaning towards other things. Yeehaw, huh? Yeehaw and burr. I always shake my head at the people who are eating Pop-Tarts, and I saw one person eating Pop-Tarts and frosting on the AT, bragging about it on videos, and then dying going up all the hills, and it's like, I wonder why. I also went through a phase when I was leading backpacking trips every weekend in the Sierra for Sierra Club of doing dry cereal and condensed powdered milk, and I would just add hot water and it would, be something warm to eat in the morning. I've gotten away from doing any sort of warm meal like that just because it took extra time, and when I was leading trips, most of the time I was too busy making sure everybody was getting moving, because if you've got 14 participants at the upper end and you have to get everybody out, right at dawn, there's a lot of just kind of checking in and making sure that people haven't gone back to sleep or they aren't having other issues that are going to delay them. And then you have those lovely participants that they just don't do well on the schedule. So I tended to do a lot of checking in and bellowing a countdown. 45 minutes! Fortunately, despite the fact I'm a person who highly values peace and quiet at the end of the day, I'm also a person that likes yelling and gesticulating. Hence why I've stuck with the wilderness class and leading trips for so long. The wilderness class and Jen's employment situation, being in a really good district, really good school in Orange County, are pretty much the only thing that keeps us tied to SoCal. If you wonder why we're crazy enough to go back there and pay for the crazy cost of living in between these adventures. In addition to things being much colder, the high today was 46 on the last forecast I got. There was a small chance of precipitation. I'm kind of doubtful of that because it was small, and when I pulled the forecast, I was up here, and it seemed like, based on my experience in spring, a lot of times the weather was isolated to these little Sky Island high altitude bits, and I believe I'm dropping down the far side of this one and I'll be low for a while, though the trail does tag 10K again further down south. I did get asked again if I was worried about the snow, and not really with how the trail looks out here. I worry about snow when it is deep. If I'm halfway up my calf, that would require at the very least a change of footwear, which is always problematic for me. And when the trail's just going up the mountain, down the mountain, even if I'm in snow, it's not going to last too long. See some of those peaks on the AZT this spring where I got into deep snow periodically, but it wasn't for a super long, it was for 6 miles, and then I was back below. Honestly, I would be more concerned if it was raining and just above freezing, right around freezing. That can cause some major thermal issues. Or if it gets to single digit ambient and then a heavy wind, that can just be killer. As of right now, I'm still anticipating being out here another 4 or 5 weeks, so I'm sure it'll get cold, sure it'll snow on me at some point. The joys of through hiking, all the things will generally happen. As far as the issues from a couple of days back, this is the first day I'm hiking without any sort of a bandage over my arch. So far so good, but when I'm struggling with it, it often doesn't set in till later in the day. Feet get sweatier, and I think that contributes to kind of the sock rubbing against the abrasion spot. The pack rash thing's been coming and going that I just have to kind of manage. Laundry should help a little bit. I do also have my sleeping shirt. If it gets too bad, I can put that underneath. I had to do some of that during the Mississippi just because we were sweating so much and I kept getting underarm abrasions. Yesterday was the first time I was happy with my mileage since I've been back. The math works out a lot better if I can be doing, 20 plus a day. But every time I think, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm warmed up, and I try and plan on that, things go wrong. And then once I accept that, oh yeah, I'm not going to be able to make that, I'll just do whatever, then things go well. I have a friend who's big into the whole like visualizing yourself as a millionaire and then, that's going to make you rich. I think I'm the opposite. I feel like if I'm too attached to something, if I'm like visualizing it, the universe is going to screw me over one way or another. So I almost have to like sneak up on my goals. Hence, not admitting that I'm going to make a through hike until I see the monuments, stuff like that. I have no doubt my friend would say I'm just self-sabotaging, and whoa, quite possibly. Don't mind me, I haven't been walking long. Forget to pick up my feet on occasion and just about go flying. So the bigger issue yesterday that was hit me by the end of the day was my heel. I kind of feel like that's a remainder from the helicopter injury a while back. I mean, the top of the calf was where I was really hurting, but my heel was kind of the last thing to get better. Seems to be okay. I mean, I stretched last night, I stretched this morning. I'm obviously hiking reasonably well. It's probably just a good warning that I shouldn't count on making more than 20-ish miles a day. Just got enough reception to check the forecast, and it's saying breezy in the morning and then rain in the afternoon. Fun times. And once again, I got distracted. Ended up on a road which was not the CDT. So I'm cutting back across cross country. There we go. Must have missed where this departed that dirt road. Dirt road goes out to another marked water source that only people that have left comments have ever said is dry. Seems to be a lot of those in this section. That's a much cooler view from this side. If I'd come this way, I might have done that peak. Oh well, another time. And there's Grants. Got another couple of miles of road walk. Past a prison. Okay, this is the trailhead for Mount Taylor. Now I just have however many miles of road walking to get into town. Unfortunately, it looks like Grants is a bit spread out. As far as through hiker needs, I often kind of like things like, mountain air that are, there's not that much, but at least it's all right there. This road walk's taken me by a dump, a shooting range, and now a prison. Seeing all the sights. Well, looks like the replacement stove didn't arrive. Damn it. I think that probably used to be a Sonic's. Or a dispensary. Did see a dispensary built like that. Yeah, garden spot. Fortunately, while my stove was misdelivered, my food box did arrive, so I grabbed that and then headed over to get some food. This town is really damn spread out. It kind of feels like half this town is boarded up. CDT Gateway community, huh? This is gonna suck. So I'm currently in the Quality Inn. There was actually a hiker rate at the Motel 6, but we have a habit of always checking the reviews. And it basically said that you could hear somebody talking like this in the next room, walls were paper thin. So paid a little more, came to the old Quality Inn. Generally, they're a little bit quieter, and the internet's usually pretty good. I am beat. That was a long walk across town. Okay, I would be checking out right about now, but there was a snowstorm last night that's now turned into rain. It's a little longer than was actually predicted as of a day or two ago. So I decided I'm going to stay here one more night. That'll give me a chance to resolve the stove. The stove that was shipped to me here got misdelivered and has not arrived. From here, it's about a 20-mile road walk, so it's going to be really exposed. And the weather's looking far better in the morning. I am on my way to Walmart right now, and then I should be able to get into that 20-mile road walk first thing tomorrow. While there was still a chance the misdelivered stove might arrive, I figured it was better to be safe. So I dug around at Walmart, found 2 isobutane stoves, and went with the $14 one on the left. Food options were a little limited, especially right around the hotels, so I had to settle for fast food since I'd already done pizza the night before. Okay, I was able to improve my resupply box. It was a little sparse. I packed it in a hurry. I was able to get a replacement stove, may be able to get the Soto original replacement stove tomorrow if things work out, and I am really looking forward to getting back on the road here. For once, I even remembered to flush the cow poop out of my filter. Always forget to do that while I have access to clean water.